Hey guys, welcome to ConvoCourses podcast. I do this usually once a week. I've been out for a little bit, um, working on some more material to put out there. Writing another book for assessments, doing some more stuff. So that's what I've been spending my time on. But today I'm going to do completely open topics. So any open topics you guys have about cybersecurity stuff, I don't have nothing, no agenda, nothing. So um, I've been getting so many emails and so many people contacting me and asking questions, and I apologize. I'm no longer doing one-on-ones. It's just too much, and I have a full-time job. And just to introduce myself, my name is Bruce, and I am have been doing cybersecurity for the better part of 20 years, and mostly in GRC. That's governance, risk, compliance type stuff. So that means I'm doing like regulations for organizations, and it makes really good money, and people don't really talk about it. So that's what I've decided to make my main thing here. So if you have any questions about how to get in this field, how to whatever kind of questions you have about cybersecurity, I can answer it. I can tell you where to start to get into this field and why. Like, you might be asking, so well, why would I want to get in this field? I'm doing okay for myself. Well, for one thing, this job's gonna be around for a really long time. It's been in demand for many years. I've not been without a job. I work remotely. I make six figures, and I've been doing this for 7 years, working remotely and making six figures. So, and from time to time, I could take like a side hustle, side gigs. If it doesn't interfere with my job, um, it's pretty good, I have to say. I'm not complaining in that department. So if you guys have any questions whatsoever, what I'll do is I'll answer some of the questions that I've been getting. Um, One of the questions, let me see. Somebody asked me. Let me actually just bring it up here. Getting so many emails, and there's no way I'm going to be able to answer all the emails, man. I just don't have the time to do it. Can you work remotely from the get-go? If for some jobs you can, Alex. So the question was, can you just come in and just start working remotely? And it depends on the job. Like nowadays, honestly, 4 years ago I couldn't say that, but now, yeah, because a lot of organizations have opened up things because of COVID. What happened was a lot of organizations were very reluctant to allow their employees to work remotely because they didn't have the infrastructure to do it. They thought that, if you let your people work remotely, your productivity is gonna suffer. And it turns out that's not true. So you can have people working remotely and be more productive in some cases. And so a lot of organizations are now do, including IT job. Many IT jobs are now remote, and you can find them. It's just you've got to put in the work to find them. So I could tell you quickly what I did to find these remote positions. So what I did to work remotely was what I would do now. Like, I started this a long time ago, like before COVID, like I have my own method of doing it, but it still works to this day. But in this day and age, what I would do, I wrote a whole book about it. If you're interested, go check it out. But I'm going to tell you right now in a couple minutes how you could do it. So number one on your resume, number one, there's not all jobs will allow this, right? There's some jobs you have to be on site. Like if you're civil engineering, you're working on roads, roofing, whatever, obviously you have to be there, right? If it's physical security and you're a security guard out in front of a establishment, of course you have to be there, right? You can't do certain jobs, can't do remotely, obviously. But many IT jobs you can work remotely. Cybersecurity jobs you can work remotely, many. All right. So first of all, you have to be in a field that's going to allow you to work remotely. So what I would do is on my resume, put right at the top. This is what I do. Right at the top, prefer remote work. I've noticed that certain industries can do this. Certain parts of healthcare industry can do this. Certain financial sectors, people in the financial sector can do this. Some government work, that's what I do right now, can do this. Certain sectors are more suited for this, I would say. So number one on your resume, right up top, remote work preferred, work from home preferred, like that. And then put in there your experience working remotely. Now, if you have no experience working remotely, if you've ever worked any job and part of your team is from another state, is working from another country, you kind of worked remotely. So you're working with a team remotely on a project. You want to put that in your resume. So you want the organization that you're going to work for remotely to know that you're not going to be hindered because your team is here or there, that you're going to be available to do that job. And so that's what you're trying to get them to know, that not only do you know how to work Teams and Zoom and, you know, all the tools that you need to work remotely, but also you've worked on projects with a team that was remote. So you need to put that in your resume. Another thing you have to do is be very aggressive with it. You've got to, because these jobs go really very quickly. There's more jobs than there were 4 years ago, but they go very quickly. So you got to get in there and just be very aggressive about applying for these jobs that are remote jobs. And then another thing is that not all work from home jobs are work from home jobs. There's flex jobs where you work 3 days out of a week. There's 100% remote jobs. Of course, that's the classic job everybody wants, where they're working from home, period, or they're working from another place. And then another thing is that there's restrictions sometimes. Some jobs will allow you to work remotely, but as long as you don't go out of the United States. Some jobs will allow you to you can do it remotely, but you can't go out of certain areas. Another thing is some of these remote jobs require a lot of travel. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Like if a certain amount of travel will make it so it's irrelevant that you work remotely, to be honest with you. So I worked one job where I was working, oh man, I was remote, but I was traveling like 50% of the year. And if you're traveling 50%, like, you might as well just work from the office, because you're never going to be home. You know, you're not going to be home. So just evaluate the type of work, remote work. But to answer your question, there are jobs that you right from immediately you could start working remotely. If you don't have any experience in IT, if you don't have any experience, a lot of times they'll have you do on the job training, and for that, you probably will have to meet with somebody at some point to do deeper training. So hope that answers your question. Somebody asked me, am I Boyd Cluess? A lot of people are asking me that lately. I don't know the man. I know of him. Very successful risk management framework type dude. I think we do totally different things, him and I. Like, I think we're both in the same industry, but we do. I'm a content creator and a writer. I think he's a businessman. You know, I mean, he is 100% business dude. So, you know, I'm more of a content creator. So, best way to get into cybersecurity as a brand, new to person in tech. Best way to get into cybersecurity as a brand. Do you mean like start your own company? Is that what you mean? I need more context on that one. I had some really good questions that came through on email that I would like to read. I don't want to expose anybody, but I think I can actually answer some of those that might be helpful to somebody else. These lives are the best way to ask me questions. I mean, I get so many emails, and then the emails are very deep. So I don't. Sometimes it's just better if I can talk to, you know, a lot of people at once, because a lot of people ask the same questions. Let me see if I can find that. Okay, I got a lot of questions about coaching. I don't do coaching right now. It's on pause because I don't have the time to do it. I used to do one-on-one coaching where I would walk somebody through their resume. I would like redo their resume, talk to them about interview, how to get a job, and what you do once you get in there. I don't have time to do that anymore. I got a full-time job, so I can only do this like on weekends and stuff. And so I'm no longer doing one-on-ones. Let me see if there's any other questions. There was a couple of really good ones that I'm looking for. Oh, here, I think this is it. Somebody said, somebody asked me, Nick asked me, he said, good morning. I'm a subscriber to your YouTube channel. I appreciate your content. Being a black man in this industry, it's good to see someone who's black in this industry. There's a lot of us doing this. my actual current supervisor and boss are black, and then the last place I worked at were also black. I think it's because this job is something some people can't do. It's difficult because you have to talk to people and be technical. You gotta have you gotta be two-handed sword with it, and I don't think a lot of people can do this. But I think that the special situations that that minorities and especially people just getting here, from other countries. I noticed there's a lot of foreign nationals that do this work, and there's a lot of black men and women who do this work, because I think it's personally my own personal opinion. I think it's because we've been through a lot. So a lot of immigrants do this job, like new Americans do this job, because it's difficult. Like, this is not easy work. Like, you can't just be in a closet and just fix a router and then go home. Like, this is like, you got to have some emotional intelligence on this one. And I think that people from a harder background tend to do well in this industry, because we've been through more stuff, to be quite honest. And so how to navigate people who are having a bad day, and also work with technology. So it's a really good fit if you happen to be an immigrant, and if you happen to be somebody who's been through adversity. It's actually a very good fit for you. That's why I think there's so many black. It's like, it feels like the NBA sometimes, like it's over representation. Like, we are only 14% of the population, but make up something like 80% of the NBA or something. You know what I mean? It's because where we're from, there's a lot of people in the streets playing ball and getting practice. So where we're from, also, there's a lot of adversity, and you got to rise above it. So that's just my theory. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, somebody said, going back to the question, he said, I was thinking about doing freelance work regarding cybersecurity, and I'm already working in the government, and I want to do my own business on the side. Okay, I can answer this question. So I've been doing this for a long time. I've had a business for the last businesses. I've had multiple businesses since 2004. When I got out of the military, I realized corporate life was not going to work out for me, and I had to have something on the side. And I started doing a business on the side, and I just do it on the weekends. I do it when I got off of work. It wasn't easy. It was very difficult, but I was doing it, and I was working for, at the time, I was on a contract working with the Air Force Weather Agency, or I don't remember what it was, but we were working. I was working that job, and so the answer is yes, you can do it, but there's a few things that I would avoid. Number one, conflict of interest. Like, you don't, especially if you're doing like contracting work you have your own contracting job, but you're a contractor. You don't want to be stealing their customers. You don't want to, like, let's say what they do is they do consulting, risk management consulting, and you're working for them. You're taking their benefits. You're doing all this work for the Air Force or whoever. You don't want to go behind their back and start working some side job for the Air Force, or for the, directly. That's competition with them. You don't. That's against the law. You're not supposed to do that. Normally they have you sign an agreement saying you will not do that. Like, if you read the fine print, it says something to the effect you will not compete against them. So you can't do that. Another thing that you can't do, you don't want to work for other governments. Like, if you're working for the U.S. government, it's a bad idea to work for another government. and from time to time you may get an offer to work for an organization that's in UK, who happens to have a contract with their government or whatever. So you can't. I would not do it. It's not a good idea, because, and the reason why is the federal government normally has a public trust, or usually has like a background check, and they're going to ask you, have you ever worked for another government? And the answer should be no. The answer should be no. Like, I currently do not work. Have I done it before? Yes, I used to. I'm from Ghana. I worked for the Ghanaian government 6 years ago, or whatever. Of course, that's fine. But if you're currently working for the Israeli government on the side gigs, and they find out and you told them no, that's not good. You know what I mean? Like, so no, I would not do that. Another thing is, don't get burned out. A lot of times, with your own business is difficult, because you have to a lot of times work way more hours. There's this on YouTube, like a lot of people saying, oh, I work a 4-hour work week, or I work, my business is making 100,000 a year, 300,000, I'm making $1 million a year, and I only work 15 hours. That's real business. Isn't like, most business is not like that, I should say. Most business, you're working your ass off until it takes off. So don't burn yourself out. You have a job and you have a business. Don't burn yourself out. Like, you got to be able to have the self-discipline to cut away and like take a break whenever you need it. Another thing is, you got to tell them whenever you leave the country, especially for the U.S. federal government. You got to tell them when you leave the country, I should say. When you leave the country, you got to just let them know. Normally they're going to be okay with it, but just like, hey, I'm leaving the country. I'll be gone from this day to this day. Because what you don't want to happen is that they find out later, you know what I mean? Especially if you really need that job and they find out you left the country with their equipment. Oh my Lord. Like, nah, just tell them, hey, I'm leaving the country. I've got family over there. I'll be back on X day. It's not a big deal. They just need to know that what they don't want to see is you hiding things, right? Especially if you took their equipment. Like, if you're not taking their equipment, then you might be able to get away with it or whatever. I think that's about it. Those are the things that I've learned. Another thing is, I don't talk about my business. When I'm at my job, I don't talk about this stuff I'm doing here. I don't talk about it. Every now and then people discover me. People from my job will say, hey, I know you. And then they'll start, and I'll say, yeah, I've got a YouTube channel or whatever, it's no big deal. Or I do this or on the side or something like that. And that's it. I don't talk about it. I'm not promoting my stuff at work, but a couple times they found me out and everybody started promoting it. And I'm like, oh my God, like that's the last thing I want. I want to be able to speak freely in this platform. I don't want to tiptoe around things. Not that I'm not saying something crazy. I just want the freedom to be able to do what I want on my own time. You know what I mean? So that's just the way I think about it. All right, let me see. I got some other questions here. Somebody says, I'm in IT help desk. Can I get into cyber security? Yes, you can. Absolutely, you can. And Adam, I can show you what you need to do. Most people start off in help desk, and that's like really the best way to do it. But what you're going to want to do is look at all of the times that you helped out with security in your organization. That's what you want to do. And you want to put that stuff on your resume. So let me give you an example of what I mean by that. It's called best security practices. And you're already doing cybersecurity. So that's the magic of this. You're actually already doing cybersecurity. You just need to put it on your resume. And once you do that, once you put it on your resume, you'll make yourself seen by people who are looking for you. Right now, this moment, somebody is looking for you. And so all you're doing is putting that stuff. So right now on the screen, I'm showing you exactly the types of things that you need to put on your resume. Like, these are best security practices, and I'll read some of these. So one is inventory and control of enterprise assets. That's like whenever you guys have tracked the hardware and software in your environment, that's something you should put on your resume. Like if you've ever helped to track down a certain asset, a certain system, a certain desktop on your, put down there that you've done that you helped out the organization to do that. Another one's data protection. This should be obvious, but data protection is like making sure there's a data loss prevention is DLP. Data loss prevention is being done. If you've ever done that, you need to put that on your resume. Another thing would be access control. That's like whenever you've added or removed accounts from the network, that accounts as cybersecurity. So you need to put that on your resume. How many people did you add or remove to the network? What was the impact to the organization because you were doing that service? That's the kind of stuff you need to put on your resume. Continuous monitoring is another one. Malware defense is another one. Data recovery, data backups, pen testing goes without saying. Incident response, application software security. All of these things are things that you have to put on your resume to get yourself in front of people who are looking for you. Okay, let me see. Hope that answers your question. Somebody said, I want this as a career so bad. You can do it. I'm in the Army. I'm in the Army too, looking to work in cybersecurity. I'm sorry, I can't freaking read. I'm in the Army looking to work in the cybersecurity too. So I've worked with the Army multiple times, and they have a standard called AR-25-2, if I'm not mistaken. AR-25-2. AR-25-, yeah, that's what it's called. AR-25-2. I think that's what it is. It's cybersecurity, basically, information assurance. Yeah, here it is right here. Here it is. Yeah, Army Regulation 25-2. So the Army Regulation 25-2 is the Army's interpretation of cybersecurity and cybersecurity controls. And so this document right here will walk through how the Army does cybersecurity from a high level. Like, what do they do? What do they implement? What reference do they use? All those kinds of things go into this reference. So if I was in the Army right now, if I wanted to get into this, first of all, if you're planning on staying in for a couple more years, I would cross-train into, and that's what the military calls it, where you go from one career field to another. I would cross-train into the cybersecurity field and learn about this stuff right here, this AR-25-2. This right here, this is money right here, this AR-25-2, because this goes into GRC. This goes into GRC, acquisitions. It talks about security operations centers. It's just like a broad covering almost everything. Yeah, change your MOS. That's what it's called. So I can't remember what MOS stands for. So MOS is your job. AFSC is what we call it in the Air Force. But yeah, change your AFSC. If you're going to stay in for any length of time, you're going to change your MOS to the, I think they call it surety or cybersecurity or some stupid name that they have for it right now. But go into that field, and then they're gonna teach you what you need to know, all the basics. They're gonna teach you a signal corps is I believe what they call it in the Army. But those guys, man, some of those dudes, especially the warrant officers, man, they really know what they're talking about. So I would cross-train. I would change my MOS to another one. Do that for a couple years. All you need is about 1 year, man. All you need is about 6 months. You can get 6 months in that field, man. If you get your boot in that field for 6 months, you're golden. When you get out, you're gonna make you have an option to make some good money on the outside. So while you're in, though, what you want to do is, well, I was telling my brother-in-law, he's in the Air Force, about to do the same thing, is what you want to do is, if you have it in you, go to school, use your tuition assistance, go to school and get your degree before you get out. And then get certifications while you're in, because they'll pay for it. And somebody said, did you get certifications in the service? Yes, sir. So get a degree while you're in, use tuition assistance, use Look, if there's a war right now, you best believe they're going to send your ass on the front line and you might die. Okay. So you better get everything you can out of the military, especially the damn army. Get your degree, let them pay for it, get a certification, let them pay for it, sign whatever paperwork you got to do, change your MOS, get 6 months in there, 6 months, and then get out the military. Get as much training as you can. So when you get out of the military, you'll have a clearance. They're going to give you a security clearance. You know how hard it is to get a security clearance outside the military? Yeah. So they give those things out like candy in the military. So you're going to have a security clearance, a security clearance of some sort. And then they're going to give you on the job training, valuable training you can't get from nowhere else in a real environment. They're going to, if you get a degree, you're going to get a free damn degree, bro. A free degree, man. A free certification. And then when you get out, if you have all those things, plus on the job training, you live on the East Coast, just hit me back after you do it. And then thank me. To be like, hey, Bruce, I did what you said, man. Thanks a lot. Yeah. All right, let me see. I got some other questions here. Somebody asked me if I was from Ghana. No, I wish. I might go to Ghana and buy some property or something. I heard that they're giving out citizenship. Might do that. Let me see. See if I got some more questions. SS says, hey Bruce, long time. Glad to see you doing good. I passed the CISSP and the CISM. Wow, that's difficult. Congrats, man. Congrats to you. Your life's about to change. I know when I took the CISSP, after I got it, my whole life changed, man. My whole life changed. If there's one certification, if you have the ability to get it, the CISSP, as for cybersecurity people, it will change your life. Like, you don't necessarily have to have a degree with a CISSP. You've got a little bit of training, you've got a little bit of experience in the CISSP. Yeah, somebody's gonna. It's not easy. It's not an easy certification to get. It was hard for me. I mean, I know people walked in like an hour, supposedly 30 minutes later, they finished and got 100% or whatever, but that's not me, man. I took all 6 hours and thought I failed afterwards. It was a hard test for me, but congrats, SS. Put that on your resume. See what happens when you put it on your resume. Post your resume on Dice, Monster, and LinkedIn. See what happens when you put it on your resume. Also, what do you think about the difference between risk management and security compliance? I think they're the same thing. Risk management, IT risk management. I don't know nothing about risk management outside of information technology, so I'm just going to focus on risk management. It's the same thing, and let me explain why. Because security compliant. Well, there can be some differences. Okay. What are the differences? Okay, I've done both of these things. And I would say if you're doing a purely risk-based job, which I just did, I worked at Verizon and I was on a team that did risk assessments for organizations. So our focus wasn't on compliance, it was on risk. It was specifically on risk, like a laser. And what we would do is we would take all their data, we'd run assessments, we'd take all their data and say, okay, here's where we see all the risks, and we'd say, here's your highest risk. You should fix this, and this will help your security posture of your whole organization. And here's the other things we found, by the way, start off with this. We'd prioritize it. We say, this is the first one you got to fix, then this one, and then this will bring your score down. So it was score based. It was results based. Like, you would run scans until you got their risk down. Security compliance, we worked with another organization that did security compliance, and the main thing they did was make sure you were compliant with certain regulations. For example, if you worked in the banking industry or financial sector, you might be subject to something called Sarbanes-Oxley, and it's essentially it's a regulation that comes down from the federal government that states that you will have auditing, you will do this, you will do that. It looks very much like the NIST 800. It looks very much like PCI compliance, but they have to meet all of these standards in what's called Sarbanes-Oxley. And then another regulation that you might have to do in the government, we have something called a risk management framework, which is NIST 837. And so we're going down the list of all the documents you have to do. The difference is the risk is based specifically on lowering the level of managing the risk as effectively as possible. That might mean remediating things. That might mean writing a certain policy. That might mean making sure operational security is done a certain way. That might mean fixing up your wireless. But compliance, the difference is you're focused more on making sure you're meeting certain laws. There is a lot of cross-pollination between the two, and that's why I start off by saying, oh, they're the same. They are different. But there's a lot of cross-pollination between the two. Like, and that would be that in some cases to manage the risk, you have to have compliance. And then in some cases, to be compliant, you have to manage your, like, there's so much crossover that they're very intimately entwined. But one is not the other necessarily, but they're often grouped together because there's so much crossover. And that's why GRC stands for governance, risk, and compliance, because all these three things all like are married. Like you can't really have one without the other. In order to have compliance, you have to manage your risk. In order to manage your risk, you have to have some level of compliance. But as far as jobs go, compliance is a lot of documentation and checking a lot of boxes. It's a lot of documentation. And risk, it has some documentation in it that is necessary, but it's not really the only thing you're doing. You're working with the vulnerability team to make sure that they're fixing vulnerabilities. You might have to do a whole bunch of assessments. You're getting at, by any means necessary, lowering the level of risk and lowering the chances and the likelihood that your system's going to get hacked. So I would say those probably are the main differences. I hope that answers that question. Thanks, SS. That's a great question, by the way. Let me see. I've got some questions on TikTok. It says, what are your thoughts on system engineers? I hate system engineers. Every time I see a system engineer, I want to murder them. It's a joke. But no, system engineering is, I work with system engineers before. I had the opportunity at one time to become a system engineer, and it's really smart dudes. System engineers are people, typically their background is heavily, they usually have some sort of degree. They normally have like a high level degree, like a EE or something super hard, or math degree, or like they're very smart dudes who have a very good understanding of how systems work. They're not usually in the weeds on cybersecurity stuff. They're usually very smart on like one aspect of information technology, or one aspect of, I don't know, satellite systems or ground stations, or like they'll have like one specialty, but that specialty allows them to like very quickly understand how this program works with this system or whatever. They're very smart dudes, and usually they're multidisciplinary, meaning they might know system engineering, but they also know electrical engineering, and they also know a little bit of programming. They're like those kind of guys. So I've got nothing but respect for system engineers, and really I have to work with them on a regular basis. So all kinds of system engineers, by the way. Somebody asked me, is getting an IT management degree and a certification a good start to get into GRC? Yeah, absolutely. It's great. It's very good foundationally. But what you want to do is, another thing you want to do, I should say, is look into, if you have a pencil or something, or if you can play this back somehow, look into cybersecurity frameworks. I'm sure if you're in an IT management program, at some point you will have heard of one of these things that I'm about to list. One of them is called NIST 837. It's a risk management framework, which is done by federal organizations in the US. The beauty of it is that it's so recognized that even in other countries, they will refer to it. It's very well done. And then there's one called ISO 27001, ISO 27002, which is essentially, it's the same thing as the NIST 837. They have different terminology, but it's used more in international organizations all over the world. Like you'll see it in Ghana, they use it in all over South America, they'll use it all over Europe. That's a big one over there. So that's another one. That's another framework that you want to write down. ISO 27001. See how many zeros? 1, 2, 0, 0, 1. 0, 0, 1? 0, 0, 1. ISO 27001. So that's one. Another one's PCI compliance, and that's the credit card industry's cybersecurity framework. Another one is Sarbanes-Oxley, which is often called SOX, SOX. One is called COBIT, COBIT. Another one is called NIST Cybersecurity Framework, not to be confused with cybersecurity, not to be confused with NIST 837. They're different things. So those are things that you want to look into if you're trying to do GRC. If you have an understanding of those, along with a bachelor degree, and along with a certification, and you have a background in IT and have experience, hands-on experience in IT, you'll get a job. You can get a job in GRC, and it pays really good because not many people want to do this stuff. All right, let me see if I have any other questions. SS says, help desk is a bread and butter of how to get started and beat approach to getting in cybersecurity, just like Bruce said, and you are going to have to do the legwork on the scenes. Yeah, I agree with that. So one of the best ways to start is to get into help desk. Like if you happen to be on the help desk and you're like, man, I hate the help desk. I'm just so tired of this. I'm telling you, the best guys come from the help desk, and the reason why I say that is because they know how to deal with customers. They have patience. They have a technical background, but not one that's so strong that they think they're freaking God like some of the server guys do. And then they're just a well-rounded person to get into GRC. So you can get into GRC directly from help desk. Like he said, they're the bread and butter of getting started. I totally agree with that. That's how I started. My first job in the Air Force in IT was a help desk guy. That's where they would put when I was in, they would put you on the help desk first, and then that's how you would get on the job training, and slowly you might learn some server stuff, and then you might learn some router stuff. Thank you for that comment, SS. I appreciate that. Let me see if I have more questions on how much math is involved in cybersecurity degree. In a cybersecurity degree, it depends on what kind of degree you get. So if you're getting a degree, and correct me if I'm wrong, all you guys who already have, you guys have different degrees or whatever. But let me give you like a breakdown. So a computer science degree with some cybersecurity is going to have a lot of math. It's going to have programming, math, all kinds of stuff. If you're taking more of an IT, a computer information technology route with a specialization in cybersecurity, there wasn't much math. That's kind of what I did. So there wasn't much math in it. We did some programming, but what we were learning is more of like how systems work within an organization and the organization's need for that system. Cybersecurity math, how much math do you normally have to do? There is some math, like there's like it's not gonna make or break you. I put it to you that way, right? It's like maybe 5%, like it's not gonna be a lot. Maybe 3%. Let's say it's not a lot. and you guys tell me if I'm wrong. It's not a lot in cybersecurity. It's not there are some fields that it's gonna be a lot, a lot, and probably those would be if you're doing cryptography. That's all math. That's math proofs. That's like complex algorithms. It's crazy math. Like not many human beings have the capacity to do that kind of stuff. So so that aspect is super math. Like in fact, those are usually mathematicians who do that. They're considered in cybersecurity, but they're actual mathematicians. So if you're doing cryptography or crypto analyst work, is 100%. It's 95% math and some cybersecurity. It's like, you know, but let me see. Another one would be the software engine, but that's not really your question. But computer science is quite a bit of math and logic in programming, quite a bit. Mostly logic in programming, which is not really math. But cybersecurity, how much math? It's not much. It's not gonna break you. You know, like if you hate math, I love math, but I'm not good at it. Math is incredible. Like I love math, but you know, math is how they discovered that black holes exist. Like before, like in the early 1900s, they were like, just doing math. They were like, so this proves that black holes exist. And they're like, black, what is that? Like a hole in space exists. And based off of this math right here, you know, math is incredible, man. Math, without math, none of this would be possible. None of this stuff we're doing would be possible without math. Math is absolutely incredible. Let me see. Any more questions? Let me see if I got more questions here. I do a password reset, assisting telecommuters for troubleshooting, and sample you give me would be a good sample if you help. Okay, I don't know what you mean by this, Adam. You're typing too fast, my man. Or I can't read. Or maybe we were following up with another question. Oh, you're talking to somebody else probably. Okay. Man, I'm getting some crazy. Okay, let me see. SS says, clearance is a big plus for a job in security. For job security, a clearance is a big plus for job security. Yes, I agree with that. Yeah, a clearance is one of the things I want to clear up is that a security clearance is not necessary for a cybersecurity job. Because the reason why I say this is because a lot of people think that you have to have a security clearance to get a cybersecurity job, and it's not. So that's not the case. So I've had jobs where I was doing cybersecurity and I did not have a clearance. As a matter of fact, my job at Verizon, I didn't have a clearance. I mean, it wasn't necessary. I did have to have a background check, and that's not the same as a security clearance. And I had a public trust. The public trust is not a clearance. It's not officially a clearance. So public trust is like it's just a background check. That's all it is. So you don't have to have a security. But he's right. SS is right. If you have a clearance coming from, especially if you're from the military or you're from some federal organization and they retain your clearance, that it's a big plus because the organization it's hard for organizations to find somebody with a security clearance. That's why it's a job security. Thanks for that comment, SS. I appreciate that. And okay, he's talking to somebody else in that one. Okay, somebody said, what cybersecurity projects would you recommend that I have? Do you recommend? I have an HP and Intel Pentium processor. What cybersecurity projects do you? Oh, okay. You mean like what kinds of things can you use to like do some testing on your computer? Okay, that's a great question. Thank you for that question. There's a site called Hack the Box. Let me just get the actual Hack the Box, I believe it's called. Okay, there's a couple. There's one called Hack the Box, which is actually hacking on a website. And you don't need to have a super high processing power for that because it's all done on their servers in the cloud. So it's called hackthebox.com. And I don't know what the pricing on that is, but I think they have some free entry level. Yeah, they have a free basic level of hacking. And then they have one that's $14 a month and $20 a month for VIPs. But you can start off with the free one. And it's actually allowing you to do some hacking directly from hackthebox.com. So check that out. Another one is called, there's another one I'm trying to think. Alternatives to Hack the Box. There's one called, and it's just escaping me right now. There's a really, really good one that I used to use from time to time just to mess around. And I am having trouble finding it. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? You cybersecurity people are listening right now. What other try hack me? Thank you. I believe it's try hack, man. Thank you. Yeah, a couple people. Thank you. That's what it's called. So try hack me and hack the box. It's literally try hack me. Yeah, this is it right here. Try hack me. This is what it looks like. If you guys happen to be watching me on YouTube, I'm showing it on the screen right now. So this is what it looks like. And I believe this one also starts off as free. They have competitions in there. They have red teaming. They have all kinds of stuff where they're literally you're hacking and they're teaching you how to. You're hacking by like doing the actual hacks. And the other one's Hack the Box. Those are the two that I would recommend that I've actually used Try Hack Me before. It's really fun. It's really cool to do. So if you're interested in that one. Another thing you can do if you want to do it on your desktop, there's a couple things you can do. There's one called GNS3. I know some of you guys are going to be like, I don't know what that is. GNS3. So this is if you want to learn how to do some networking. So it's a virtual networking that you can put on your system, on your computer. You can have you can set up networks on your computer. Like it's on your computer, has like a little screen, and you're actually setting up networks, complex networks using GNS3. Somebody said GNS3 is better than Packet Tracer. Yeah, Packet Tracer is another application you can put on your computer and learn complex networking, where you're working with network routing protocols. You're working with like how to set up IPs and how to make these two IPs talk that if they're on separate networks. How to do tunneling, like you can literally work with the operating systems that are on the routers and on the switches. Learn the differences between a router and a switch, and what's a hub, and all that kind of stuff. Different wiring. I believe you can even do some of that stuff in there. So that's another thing you can do. One of the ones that I used when I first started, which was so fun that I stopped using it. Well, I use it every now and then when I want to mess around with some applications, but virtualization on your computer. So one called VMware. VMware is not free. I believe they have a free version of it, but VMware is worth, if you're trying to invest in, this is worth your time, because VMware, you can do just about anything. VirtualBox is free. Somebody said VirtualBox, and there's a couple of other ones that are actually free. VirtualBox and a few other ones are actually free to set up, but VMware is the one that I was using a lot. And you download it on a computer. You can set up servers. You can set up so you can like set up 2 boxes on a network, and then use a box to hack a server. You can set up a server and then use a Kali Linux download to hack the server and learn how to do things like Nmap and things like all kinds of hacking tools that are on Kali Linux. Speaking of Kali Linux, another thing you can use on your system is called Kali. Let me see, Kali Linux. Like if you go to Kali.org, this right here has a free distribution, a pen testing tool that you can download for free. It's called Kali.org, KALI.org, and you can actually use that to learn all kinds of hacking techniques and all kinds of command line type stuff. Another thing to do on your system is to learn a bit of Python. Python's really good to learn if you're just trying to hack, if you're trying to mess around. Python, PowerShell, scripting languages are super duper effective for learning. Like you will be a badass if you know shell scripting and stuff like that. So those are some of the things you can do. So basically, my home lab is a Kali Linux machine and Ubuntu machine. You're on the right track. You're on the right track. That's how you do it. That's how you do it, KD. And just keep messing around with that. And then what you want to do is eventually go for a certification. The certifications I would recommend, and I know you're probably going to hate me for this, but CEH is a good one. The hackers don't like the CEH, but it pays, man. It pays money. And then the one that you want to get that's elite or whatever, that's really good is OSCP. That one's respected by hackers, but also respected by major institutions. Like if you have that under your belt, it's showing you know what you're doing. It's not easy from what I've heard. Richard says, I'm 45 and I don't know anything about cybersecurity. Is it too late for me to get started? Absolutely not. So cybersecurity is a very broad field. This field is very broad. Everybody's not hackers. I know we just spent like 15 minutes talking about hackers or what you can do to hack and stuff like that. But it's not all hacking. Like if you want to do that, you can. At 45, you can totally do that. But what I'm trying to do is broaden your horizon. It's not all about hacking. There's different aspects of it. There's stuff that's super. If you're a mathematician, if you happen to love mathematics and logic, then you probably want to go into cryptography. Like if you're super big into that, go into cryptography. Especially if you have a mathematics background, you have a propensity for mathematics, go into cryptography. There's tons of jobs for that. It's not many people can do that stuff. Crypto analysis and cryptography. People who make crypto and people who break crypto. Cryptography I'm talking about, not cryptocurrency. So that's one aspect. Now, if you're not like super mathematic, and you're not into that stuff, but you like the technical aspects of it, you like hacking, you like messing around with computers, you like it feels like toys to you, then yeah, you could set up a lab in your house and start messing around with it. And start learning that way. This right here, like the whole setting up a lab and getting what that's going to do for you is let you know if you want to do it or not, because some people are not going to like doing that aspect of cybersecurity at all. That being said, there's another aspect of cybersecurity that's hands off. Now you still not have to know information technology, all aspects, everybody in cybersecurity needs to know how to do basic networking, how to do information technology, how the hardware works with the software, the difference between an operating systems and an application, an application that sits on the operating system, how these systems are hacked. Like you need to know those things. Those are basic things. So that will take you some time to learn it, but you can totally do it. All that said, there's an aspect that is hands off. There's one aspect that I do, which is mostly what I do is coordinate with the guys who do have to install the patches, the guys who do have to be in the field configuring systems and stuff. I don't do it. What I do is I coordinate it. I'm like, okay, they give me the data, and then I'm looking at all the data. I'm looking at all the vulnerabilities, everything, and I'm saying, okay, what can we do to reduce our risk, right? So I have to know enough to know, okay, this right here is a critical. This right here is not a critical. This is not a critical finding. Like which ones am I going to prioritize? And then how are we going to approach this? And then how can we fix this particular vulnerability? I have to know enough to do that. But I'm not actually fixing the systems. What I'll do is I'll meet with a team and say, okay, here's what we need to attack first. And the team might push back and say, well, if we tried that last week, here's what we're doing. Then I would come back and say, okay, that means we need to document this and figure out what. So I do what's called GRC, which is governance, risk, and compliance. So I'm trying to help the organization as a whole to get to manage their level of risks. So that is what I do. There's many different aspects of cybersecurity. It's a very broad umbrella. There's another aspect of cybersecurity that's not even directly cybersecurity that I would highly recommend, especially if you're not technically inclined. You're not going to go into cryptography because you don't like mathematics. You don't necessarily want to go super deep in the technical side of it. You don't want to get the CompTIA A+ certification. You don't want to go back to school and get that IT degree. Not that you have to get an IT degree, but you don't want to do all that stuff. There's another one that people do not talk about, and that is program management. Program managers are the guys who are even above. They're above what I do in that they're having to see the whole umbrella of a project. They'll take a giant project and say, okay, let's say we're putting together a whole nother network. We got to order the equipment. We got to purchase the equipment, get it on order. We've got to get with the network team to have them coordinate how it's going to map. They got to map it out before they put it together. Then once we put it together, we've got to test it out and then put the security controls on. So all of these steps, right? There's somebody above us who coordinates all the steps of this, and that's a program manager. So they'll have to get with the people who are purchasing it and say, okay, when are we purchasing it? They'll literally set up a meeting and say, okay, when are we purchasing it? And then the network team will be on that call and say, okay, it's going to be in on the 5th. And then the network team will say, okay, we'll be ready for it. And then on the 5th, you're like, okay, we got the equipment. The network team has it. Now, network team, how long is it going to take you based off of all the equipment you have is going to take you to actually implement the first stage of our project? They're taking the whole project in parts and they're having to coordinate. And sometimes the systems are so big, we need somebody to do that. Somebody who's very mature, somebody who knows how to talk to people, somebody who has a very solid understanding of organizations as a whole because they've been around for some time. So that's what I would recommend. If you're not into mathematics, you don't want to go into cryptography. If you don't necessarily want to go sit down and learn, thousands of hours worth of information technology just to get your foot in the door to go work in a help desk for 6 months. If you don't want to do what I'm doing, which is doing all this coordination with all these technical teams and management teams, then you want to do program management, which you're doing some of the stuff I'm doing, but without the technical piece. So you've got options. And are you too old at 45? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, we need more mature people. A lot of mature people are actually leaving this field because they're retiring or they don't want to do this anymore. They've been doing it a long time. So we definitely need more program managers. We need more GRC guys. We need more cybersecurity as a whole. Hope that answered your questions. Somebody said I have Splunk on my Ubuntu machine, but it still logs events. But would it still log events without the Splunk forwarder? Yes. Yeah. So the Ubuntu machine, will it still log? I think I understand. I hope I understand what you're saying. The Ubuntu machine itself has auditing built in. You just got to enable it. If that's your question, I'm not sure. Let me see. Sounds like project man. Yes, project management. That's what it is. Project management. Program managers, project managers. It's used interchangeably, but I think that you're correct. It's project management. Been on the help desk for 2 months. What would you do if you were in my shoes? to advance your way up. Okay. I just got on the help desk and I've been on for 2 months. What would I do? Knowing what I know now, I would start off. What you need to do if you haven't done this already is get your resume and put it on LinkedIn. Get your resume. Okay. Number one, before you even put on LinkedIn, I'm gonna break it down to you. Now, what you can do in advance is download my resume. I have a free sample resume. You can take mine to get an example of how it should look, because mine is an ATS style resume. That means application tracking software. These large organizations, they use they're expecting a specific type of resume format that allows them to track you easier. Okay. So number one, get your resume right. Start off, even if with 2 months, you already have experience. Let me explain. What you need to do if you're trying to get in cybersecurity is track every single time you do anything related to security. All right. You'd be surprised how many things are labeled as security that these technical recruiters are looking for. Number one is putting in security patches. That's vulnerability management. That's a key word that I just said. Vulnerability management is a keyword that they're looking for right now. So if you ever applied a patch, if you've ever had to put a hot fix, if you've ever had to do any of this stuff in your environment, you need to put that on your resume. Now, after about, I would say, give you 4 to 6 months of doing this, you have yourself a very solid set of vulnerability. You could say something like installed a critical vulnerability on 500 mission essential systems, right? And it'll be true, because when you're doing vulnerability management, you're probably applying like 1,000 patches sometimes. You might apply 15 patches on 50 systems, 15 times 50 or whatever. So yeah, so you want to put the impact of what you did cybersecurity wise on your. Now you said I do Nessus every day. You need to put that on your resume too. Nessus Tenable is super hot to have on your resume for cybersecurity people. It's super hot. And the more you know how to do queries, reports, dashboards, setting all that stuff up, creating content on Tenable, yeah, that's exactly what these people, and these people will pay the hell out of you to be the primary person who's both monitoring and setting up and managing their Tenable and their Nessus system. So you want to put what you need to do is look at keywords. If you look at my resume, or you can just go to LinkedIn and do this yourself. You go to LinkedIn, you search for cybersecurity specialist. Look at other people, search for people, look at their resumes and how they word Tenable, how they word Nessus. Look at how they word it. Are they using the words assessor? Are they using the word conducting assessments? Are they using the words vulnerability management? Are they what wording are they using? And use that on your resume. That in the first 2 months, that's what you need to be doing, building out your resume. Once your resume is solid and you've got things like continuous monitoring on there, you've been applying patches, you've been working on doing Nessus, like what's the impact to the organization having you do Nessus? Put that on your resume. Once you have all that on your resume, what you need to do is upload your resume on the following places. Number one, LinkedIn. Fill out the entire profile on LinkedIn. Number two, dice.com, the best site for technical people. All the technical recruiters are there. Upload it there, fill out the entire, from start to finish, the whole profile. Number three, Monster. At the very least, put it on these three. People do not listen to me. People do not listen to me. Even when they freaking hire me, people will pay me $100 an hour. And then I tell them what to do, and they do not do this, what I'm telling you right now to do. I don't know why, but you need to put your resume on as many of these platforms as possible and fill out the entire profile. And then you will get a floodgate of people begging you to work for them. And they will be offering you way more, I guarantee it, than what you're making right now. That's what I would do if I were you. I'm a voice over IP engineer and currently have a CCNA in school for my CCNP. What steps should I take? What steps should I take next? I think you're doing it. I don't have nothing to add to that. Yeah, CCNP is no joke, bro. And CCNP is right up there with a CISSP. That's a professional level cert. CCNP is no joke. Focus on your CCNP. CCNP, once you get that, it's a life changer. I know a couple CCNPs and yeah, they're doing very well. Let me see. I've got some questions on YouTube. SS says it's the same thing I did. Get your degree certifications while you're in use and use your GI bill. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, SS, for that. Oh, okay, Adam. Thank you, man. I didn't understand what you were saying before. ATO packages. Let me see. If you perform some tasks under CISSP domain or NIST, I think they mean risk management framework type work for over 5 years, you can take the exam, or you can start an associate exam. Oh, he's talking about the CISSP. CISSP has it's a great certification, but there's a requirement before you take it where you're supposed to have worked for 5 years or something like that. You're supposed to have worked for 5 years in a cybersecurity role that's in one of the domains of the CISSP, which one of them is, for example, cryptography is one of the domains. So if you worked in it's not just cryptography. There's one that's risk management framework based. It's very broad, so you probably have worked in, like, if you've done any number of years. Anyway, you have to have certain requirements in order to sit for the test to take the exam. That's what he's saying. Let me see here. Can you use data security or governance work experience to count towards a CISSP exam requirement? Can you use data security or governance? Yeah, of course you can. Yeah, so the governance is on one of the domains, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I believe. Yeah, absolutely you can. I'm so sure you can use that. Let me just CISSP domains. Yeah, okay, here's some of the domain. I'll just read some of the CISSP domains that they're looking for. If this is not, no, this is fairly current. So it's there's 8 domains in CISSP, and one of them is security and risk management. So you might be able to use that one if you've done governance, because that's what governance is. That's part of governance. Asset security, that might fit in your data security. And then you've got security, architecture and engineering, communication and network security, identity and access management is another one. Security assessment and testing. That's like security, the SCA, security control assessors. Security operations. It's a little bit of physical security in there. And then software development security. So those are the 8 domains of the CISSP. So if you've done any aspect of those things, that qualifies you for that, having some experience in those domains. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Let me see if I have other questions here. And I'm not going to take too much of you guys' time here. Just answering a few more questions. Easiest, highest paid, laid back jobs. Easiest, highest paid, laid back jobs. I would definitely say it's not cybersecurity. Speaking of cybersecurity, it really depends on the organization. So I've done a couple jobs that were pretty easy for me. One was writing policies. I'm super. It's easy. Policy writing is very easy for me. I don't know why, but that was pretty easy for me. I did that for like as a side gig. Cybersecurity as a whole, though, is not. It's not easy. It's not an easy job. High paying, yes. Laid back, no, not not really. But I've worked some jobs where we didn't have a lot of work, so we just come in, do our piece, and then you're good. I've had that happen before, but I gotta say, like, if I'm being honest with you, there's not too many laid back jobs that I've had in cybersecurity. There's been a couple, like I said, the policy writing job that I could have done from anywhere. I mean, I could have been on a beach in Hawaii writing the policy, you know. Um, so that was I've had jobs where I can travel to another country and I can work from there, but I'm having to do meetings, and sometimes people are freaking out on meetings or whatever. So I can't say it's like laid back. So if you're looking for just something 100% like laid back, I can't think of many jobs I've had that have been super laid back in cybersecurity. There's been times where we had less work or whatever, and it was kind of chill. But overall, like, sometimes you're dealing with difficult situations in cybersecurity. You know, you got to remember you're dealing with system gets hacked, and then they're calling you. You're calling to a meeting to help to figure out what to do with a system that just got hacked or something. Like, nobody's laid back in that situation. Or if you're a consultant, they're calling you and paying you a lot of money because they really need you at that time, and they're panicking. And the thing is, you just gotta be laid back. You know, So easiest, highest paying job is laid back. The policy writing, it will probably be the one that for me was the chillest. I probably thinking about doing it right now. To be honest with you, I've been like, should I quit this job and just do policies? It was so easy, and I've got crazy money, and I was like knocking them out. I'm thinking about it. I'm seriously thinking about it. Which ones allow you to travel to other countries, boss? It depends on the job, my friend. Like, it really depends on the job. Some organizations, they'll allow you to do remote work, but they'll specifically say you can't go out the country. You know, some job. So first of all, you want to find a remote work job, 100% remote. Look for 100% remote, because sometimes it's like not 100% remote. Sometimes it's like a flex remote, right? They want to put that in there to attract more people, but it's like you got to come in once a week or something. Like, you can't really travel to another country. So, but you can find them. Like, if you go to LinkedIn, you want to find like 100% remote jobs. Let me see if I can find one live. I'm gonna log into LinkedIn real quick, and whoa, man, I got so many people contacting me. This is crazy. I cannot answer all these questions. Okay, so what I would do is I would say, so I'm on LinkedIn right now. I'm just gonna kind of walk you guys. If you guys haven't been listening to me on a podcast or something, I'll just explain what I'm doing. So I'm on LinkedIn. I'm gonna type in cyber security. And to answer your question, it's based off of the position. There are 100% remotes where you can work. You can literally be living in another country. I know this because at Verizon, for example, the last organization I worked with, we had several people who worked from other countries. Several. There was one from Argentina, I think, and then one from that lived in Japan. One that they lived all over the place, and that could have been me. I mean, I literally could just moved over to one of these other countries if I wanted to. and we had remote workers. Now they had to know what they were doing. Okay, so I'm on LinkedIn, and I just typed in cybersecurity, and now I'm going to look for jobs. I click jobs, and now it's showing me all the different jobs. There's tons of jobs here. Now we don't want, if we put any time, it's going to go back 15 years on a job that's no longer available. So we want to search by let's say the last week. That's fair. The last week, and as you can see, there's 100,000 jobs here. These are mostly in the United States. Now I see some remote ones already, but now what we're going to do is we're going to go and filter by remote, not hybrid, not on site, just remote. That takes it from 124,000 down to 28,000 jobs. Now we filter down to 28,000 jobs. Now is where the heavy lifting begins, because we've got to go through each one of these positions and see which one number one, which one applies to us, and number two, which one we can do, which one it fits us, and then which one do we want to do, So we would go through, and what I would do is I would apply for each one of these. Like if especially if it was something that I do, I would apply for each one, and then I would want to talk to them, because they're going to contact you after you apply for these jobs that were put out. This one's 3 days ago. Check this out. This one's 4 days ago. This one's 7 hours ago. This is a DLP one that's 2 days ago. And it goes on and on. Like these jobs are all over the place, and they're so desperate because Americans don't want to work these jobs. They're so desperate to get people in some of these positions. If they can get away with paying, look at this, a senior. This is a lead engineer job that's $200,000. You know what I'm saying? Like the people, there's no jobs in the U.S. There's no job. IA is gonna, artificial intelligence gonna take all of our jobs. Here's one at Netflix, a security engineer, and it's 19 hours ago is put it out there. Now there's already 154 applicants for this 100% remote Netflix job. So, I mean, go ahead and fight that fight. But here's another one. This one's in Louisville, Kentucky. 6 applicants already. This one's 1 day ago. Look at this. Cloud engineers. Like, so many jobs. And the thing is, even when you get in these positions, there's not enough people to do them. Like right now, this job I'm at right now. God forbid one of my coworkers is watching me, but they already know the deal. I'm at this job, and it's so much work. There's not enough people to do this work. We do not have enough people to do this work. Listen, as a matter of fact, if any of you guys are interested in the position, let me know. Like my email, go link in description. Tell me, like they're literally sending out jobs. They're gonna pay me $6,000 if you get hired. They're gonna pay me money if you get hired, because I told you to get hired. There's not enough people to do this work. It's too much work. It's too much, and nobody wants to do it. So that's what's happening. Let me see. Oh yeah, to answer your question, how do you travel? You gotta just find the position. Find the positions. They're out there. They exist. Apply for the jobs, and then talk to them. Like, say, hey, I want to. Would it be okay to work from this other place? You would find out if you're allowed to work from anywhere. You'll know, like during the interview, if how much remote work you can actually do. You'll know, because not all of these jobs allow you to really travel. Like it'll be remote, but you're looking for 100% remote. If you have that, that's half the battle right there. What do you recommend for students trying to get internships? What I would recommend right now is number one, try your school. So your school will sometimes have a work program at your school that will have something for you right there on site. That's number one. Number two, is, check this out. So if you go on to LinkedIn, if you go on Indeed, if you go to Dice, if you go to Monster, all of them have this. You go to the site, you type in cybersecurity, and then you type in, like, check this out. You go to job type, and then if you go to internship, I'm filtering by internships, and then search. And by the way, this is only in the United States. I can literally search other countries and all that kind of stuff as well. It just came up with over 124,000 cybersecurity internships on LinkedIn. Here's all the internships. Now, some of these are false positives. They're not internships, but if you go through these, some of these are internships. Some of these are legit internships. Like, this is not an internship. I don't know why it's saying that's an internship. Here, okay. So I'm going to type experience level internship and job type internship. Let's do both of these so we can filter this out even further. Okay, now we're talking. Now there's only 900 searches right here. This is what I'm talking about. And these are, I typed in cybersecurity. Now there's apprentice jobs. Okay, here you go. This is a internal audit manager internship. I would contact them and be like, hey, is this an internship? I saw it on the site as an internship. Look at all of these. Yeah, so these are actual internships. Now, some of these are not related to IT, but you got to go through them. So you can do this on LinkedIn, on Indeed, on all the sites have it. You just filter by internships. That's what I would recommend. Number one, look at your school. Go to your school and then see if they have jobs on your campus, because they'll probably have IT jobs right there. Actually, a friend of mine who comes on my YouTube channel quite a bit, he is literally working for the school doing cybersecurity stuff and also getting a degree. So he could put that on his resume, right? He's literally getting experience. And then by the time he's done, he's got 2 years of experience literally working. And then he'll be able to level up. Like, whatever he's working now, whatever money he's made, say he's making $15 an hour. When he gets out, he'll make like 5 times that much once he gets his degree and he's done. That's what I would recommend. Start off at your school, check it out there, get a job there if you can. If not, go to LinkedIn, on Dice, on what, and then type, and then filter by, look for cybersecurity or IT jobs, wherever you're looking for. Internship, filter by internships. You'll find them. You can also do that on Google, by the way. Let me see. Somebody on YouTube said, how can you get hands-on experience doing assessments? Love your book, by the way. Oh man, thanks, Woodson. I appreciate that. How do you get hands-on experience doing assessments? So if you happen to be, Woodson, if you happen to be in this industry, if you happen to be on the help desk, if you happen to be doing something where you're already in a hands-on technical position, you may have some assessment experience already. Because assessments are, people have in their mind that assessments are only pen testing, and that's not the case. So assessments there's many kinds of assessments. So when I was working at Verizon, we had like 13 different assessments, but that's the tip of the iceberg. There's so many other assessments, but Verizon would do a physical security assessment. That's where you literally walk around inside the facility, right, and look around and say, okay, let me see the doors. Let me see, like, if you have alarm systems. Let me see your windows. Okay, windows on the first floor. Do they have alarm systems on there? You know, is there critical information on this first floor? Okay, do you guys have environmental protections on your systems? Is there HVAC system here? That's an assessment. Okay, wireless is another assessment. Like, that's like making sure that the organization has basic security practices on their wireless networks. It's not just pen testing, is what I'm trying to tell you. So assessments would be, another one would be documentation, because organizations are supposed to have certain levels. So if you have ever sat down and looked at the organization's policies, procedures, work instructions, are they out of date? Did they get signed off by the organization? That's an assessment. Another thing would be, what's another assessment? Have you ever participated in a phishing campaign? Like, organizations these days will have a phishing campaign where they send out emails, like a fake email, to see if people will click on it, to see if they need to train their organization. If you've ever sent those out, if you participated in that procedure, in that process, that's an assessment. Another thing that if you've worked in this field at all, if you've done any kind of scans, if you worked on Nessus, if you worked on Qualys, if you've done any kind of scan, that is part of an assessment, because you're assessing. It might be the compliance of the systems, how compliant with the STIGs are. So how compliant with our organization's baseline are our systems? So there's many different types of assessments. So you may already have actual assessment experience. You just got to put it on your resume, because a lot of the actual technical recruiters are literally looking for that kind of experience. But they don't know you exist. Now, if you have none of this experience, how do you get the hands-on experience as an assessor? I would say getting into one of these jobs as a help desk person, you can actually get in as a junior cybersecurity person doing it. Like if you're in cybersecurity, you get your foot in the door, you're almost at some point, there's a very good chance you're going to conduct an assessment or some piece of an assessment at some point. So the best way to get the assessment experience is to get your foot in the door in an organization, because it's not enough to do it. You can do it in your house. Like you can literally set up an Ubuntu, like somebody said, they set up a Ubuntu system and then a Kali Linux system, and then they can like run scans from this system on a network that they created in their house and stuff like that. And what that allows you to do is say on your resume that you are familiar with this or that tool, right? That's legit. But what they really want to see is if you are in an organization and you had to run a scan or conduct an assessment against real world assets. That's what they're really looking for. But you can still do all that stuff in your house to say, I'm familiar with Tenable. I'm familiar with, how to conduct a wireless assessment. I'm familiar with this or that tool that's for wireless assessments. You can learn that stuff on your own. So I would get my foot in the door of a good organization. Even if you're just an apprentice or if you're in an internship or whatever, and then you will do an assessment at some point. Right. A lot of times I think it's just people don't know that they're conducting assessments because the organization doesn't call it that, but that's what it is. So I hope that answers your question. Let me see here. Wow. So a lot of these, I'm getting oh my Lord, it's been a bit overwhelming. Like, I think what's happening is this stuff is starting to get picked up by the algorithm of YouTube and TikTok. And I'm getting all these emails and stuff, and I can't keep up with it all, especially now that I got a job. It's getting a little bit more popular. So I got to figure out what I'm going to do with this. And that's what I'm trying to do, is build something to where I'm have more resources that I could just send people to this or that resource. And if they want to know, hey, Bruce, how do I get a job? And they say, okay, go to this site, here's some content, like go here, or hey, Bruce, can I do? That's what I'm kind of been trying to do all these years, to like filter all the questions to this or that bit of content that I already have. And that way, this is one man show. I'm the only person doing this right now. So, it's nice to be noticed, but also I don't have time to do one-on-ones. That's for sure. Before leaving my current career and earning a certificate, are there any weekend part-time tech jobs? Weekend part-time tech jobs. You might be able to find that. Let me see. I'm on YouTube. Let me show my screen on YouTube here, and I'll walk you guys through what I'm about to do. I don't know. Let me see if there's something you could do for part. I think so. Let's see. So first of all, what I would do is I would go to LinkedIn. I would type in help desk, because we want like an entry level type job, or customer support technical customer support, something like that. something like that. And now we don't want to necessarily internship. We want a part-time job. So what I'm doing is filtering by part-time, 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 and then maybe just remote. Let's see if we could do remote part-time jobs. Let's see if we could find anything for that. No jobs found. Okay, that's because I have internship here. Let's put entry level here. Let's see, 8 results. A lot less results for this, but they do exist. So the answer is yes. So what I did here is I went to LinkedIn. You can do this on Monster, Dice, most of the major job aggregators. You can do this. Okay, I went to the LinkedIn. I typed in technical customer support. Now you could type in help desk, you could type in technical customer service, you could type in field service technician. Those are all entry level type jobs. All right. Then I typed in jobs in the past week because we want some current. It doesn't have to be the past week. It probably be within 30 days. Probably it will work. And then entry level, because if you're new to this, you don't want to be like put in a management position or something like that. You kind of want something light. Then I put part-time, as well as remote. So there weren't many jobs for this. I only found 8, but some of these are paying pretty good. One is a big fix assessment manager. Another one is a technical service engineer in California, or CA remote. So they're actually based out of Arizona, I guess. And then there's a field service technician. So the answer is yes, they do have these jobs, especially if you other languages. Because here's one for Portuguese. If you know Portuguese, they're looking for a tier 1 customer support person. Here's another one that's German. They want you to know German on this one. So yes, there are jobs. They're harder, much harder to find, but they do exist. Let me see. Is there a lot of math to get a degree as an analyst? I'm actually not sure. Do you mean like a cybersecurity analyst, or I can only speak on cybersecurity analyst work. I mean, I was a cybersecurity analyst, and first of all, you don't have to have a degree to be a cybersecurity analyst. And okay, cybersecurity analyst. So I can only speak on cybersecurity analyst, which I did do for a couple of years. And typically you're going to work in a security operations center. And is there a lot of math? No. There is. It will be helpful if you know some scripting, but I didn't know scripting. I'm a GRC guy. I just went in there and I just happen to know enough technical stuff to be dangerous. I don't know a lot of scripting. I know I at the time I knew a very little bit, but I didn't use it at the job. But the guys who were very effective, they knew scripting languages. Math, no, there was no. It's not. I mean, the most math you might have to know would be like what's it called? Boolean. It's like subnet masks of IP addresses, but you don't even really have to know that. I mean, that's for network engineers. So how did you go about getting that job? So I got it because I'm doing the techniques I'm teaching people here. So on here, if you happen to be late, what I do is, this was work for me throughout my entire career as a cybersecurity person. What you do is you got to have an ATS style resume. If you're curious to what that is, you can go to Google and type in ATS style resume. It'll show you exactly what it is. Or you can go to you can actually get a sample of my resume. If you go wherever, I don't know where it is here, but if you go there, download a sample copy of my resume, check that out, and download it, look at it. That format is what recruiters are looking for. Number one, okay? Get the format down. What you want to do with this resume is you want to put keywords that are related to cybersecurity. You want to put best security practices. That's what the industry uses, best security practices. That means like, have you ever turned on audit logs before? Have you ever run scans before? Have you ever conducted an assessment before? What's happening here is there's a big gap between what people think cybersecurity is and like the people who are popular on these platforms are normally like hacker type dudes. Like they're very, very, very smart dudes who are like hackers, and they're like, they know programming, they've been programming since they were 3. and shit like that. Like, I'm not that guy, man. Like, you're talking to a dude. Look at me. Look at. Do I look like I know freaking? You know, like I'm a regular ass guy. Okay, doing regular ass shit. I do not know deep ass programming. You know what I mean? So you don't have to, like, these dudes are special. I'm not. I'm a normal dude. So I'm telling you what I did. So what I did is I don't know. I'm not a mathematician. I don't know how to program. I'm not freaking, what's this dude's name? What's this guy? This another one of these freaking brilliant Boyd Clueless. I am a normal ass dude. Okay, if I can do it, you can do it. But you got to do what I'm telling you. So you got to have an ATS style resume. If you don't know what that is, you can literally download mine. It's free. Okay, download mine, and it also has some of the keywords that you need. Look at the keywords that you need. Like, if you need more keywords for what you're trying to do, if you're trying to get in the side, look, listen. There's many different parts and pieces of this career field. It's not just hacking. It's not just programming. It's not, you don't have to be the dude from War Games who hacked the DoD database to do this. Like, it's not, you don't have to be a rocket surgeon to do this. You know what I mean? It's not that freaking hard. So you got to get the keywords on it. You can, if you want to go into cryptography, you got to be a mathematician for that. Like, that is for very special people. I'm talking about math proofs, all kinds of stuff. If you're not trying to do that, you can be a hacker. Like, hackers are, not all hackers know programming, to be honest with you. Not all of them do. Some of them are just very, very clever enough to not know programming and still hack your stuff. That is clever. So, but the best ones do know programming, to be perfectly honest with you. They either know hacking, or they programming, or they know scripting languages. And then you've got oh man, then you've got what I do, GRC, and you've got cybersecurity analysts. There's a huge spectrum of cybersecurity. Whichever part of the spectrum you want to be in, you've got to key all your keywords on your resume to that thing. For cybersecurity analyst work, you got to be pretty technical. One of the best certifications you can get for this, if you're really interested, is the SANS GCIA. SANS GSI. Let me just, I don't want to lie to you guys here, so let me just bring it up. This is not an easy certification. It's not for the faint of heart. It's going to take some serious work on your part to do this one. This is no joke. But it's very fun. Like, I've done a little bit of this. This is the GCIA. If you happen to be watching me, if not, I'll explain it. So it covers things like advanced IDS concepts. It's application protocols. Huge on concepts of TCP/IP and link layer. The three-way handshake. You gotta know that. Like, you got to know, like, this right here. This is right here. You got to know this. Concepts of TCP/IP, huge. Fragmentation, what is that? IDS fundamentals, network architecture, intrusion detection system rules, because you'll be using tools like, what is it, Snort or something like that. IP headers, and Silk. That's another tool. Packet engineering, TCP dump filters. Wireshark fundamentals, like these are like network sniffers and stuff. This is the kind of stuff that needs to be on your resume if you're trying to be a cybersecurity analyst. That's the kind of stuff that you need to do. And okay, no, it did. Great. Apologize for that. Okay. So that is what you need to do. That needs to be on your resume. And I wish you guys the best out there. Did you go to college for this, to work your way up from the help desk? So I actually started in the military. And yes, so in the military, what they did when I was in, was that you would start off in the help desk. You would start off in the help desk, and you would work your way. They would put you in different positions, but like everybody went to the help desk to do on the job training. And it was very, very hands-on. And From there, if they needed bodies in network engineering, they would pull somebody, some of the more people who are more technically inclined, people who are hard workers, they would pull you into wherever they needed you. What happened to me was like they would like look at us and say, okay, this dude's pretty clever. We need somebody in network engineering. So they pull him over here, put him in network engineering, right? Or we like this guy. We like this guy. Let's pull him into firewalls. Like we're going to teach this guy firewalls, right? And then they would teach you hands-on, like it would be great. And people like, oh man, that dude's in the firewalls. Oh, that's dope. And then what happened to me though, is I was like the last person picked, and they threw me in what was called I was a messaging technician. So I was a messaging technician, which was I was like, oh wow, that's cool. You know what is that? And then they put me in a they put me in a place that had no windows, and all we did was process classified information. Man, I was so disappointed. I was so disappointed. We weren't fixing routers. We weren't putting together networks. We weren't programming. I wasn't learning to do firewalls. I was a messaging technician, and I hated it. But it was a blessing in disguise because what I ended up learning was what I'm teaching now, with the stuff I'm talking about, which is risk management framework, which is GRC stuff, which is actually way more secure, easier to do. It's one of the easiest jobs in cybersecurity. It's paid for my trips all over the world. It's paid for my college. It's paid for my life. So it was actually a blessing in disguise. They put me in a room with no windows, and I found out later it's called a skiff. And I hated it, man. But what I did was they were like, hey, you know, we want one of you guys to write a policy for this place, like for the system that would process this classified information. And they was like, hey, you there, staff sergeant, you can do this. And they had me write like a system security plan and like part of a policy or something. And I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So I just start reading regulations. And that's how I started. Like I read there and I understood it. I was like reading, it's boring as hell, but I read the regulation. I read, okay, I guess this is what they're trying to do. All right, here's the format for what they're trying to do, a system security plan. At the time, they call it System Security Authorization Agreement. And I wrote that. And then we had an assessment. We had assessors came and they were looking at all our documents and looking at our system and stuff. And they looked at my document and they were like, who wrote this? I said, yeah, it was me. They're like, can we keep this template? I was like, I just put Word. I just created a Word document and then created all the stuff. Like, I said, sure. And they start using that at other organizations. That's how I got started. Fast forward, getting out of the military, and I was like, I don't want to do this crap anymore. So I went and started doing I was like a Unix administrator or something for a while. And they didn't get paid very well. And I was like, damn, like, what the hell? We got treated bad. We were field technicians. We were treated bad. We weren't paid that good. They sent us all over the world. Didn't want to pay us to travel. I mean, they did pay us, but they didn't like paying us. And eventually I was like, man, this is not what's going on here. Like it's not what I had in mind. And I started doing just regular cybersecurity stuff. Like I went back to my roots, which was writing policies, cybersecurity, and they pay way better and there's less competition. Okay, I think this is gonna be my last question. I'm getting so many questions here. I appreciate everything. Thank you guys for being here with me. I really appreciate everybody. But I'm gonna ask this last question, and it is, how can someone pivot from security engineer to cybersecurity engineer? So that's a great question. And so what I would say is there's something called application security. And so if you are a software engineer, you know how to actually write code and everything, and you're trying to get in cybersecurity, this is a great opportunity for you because there's something called, what you want to do is go to Google and type in application security, app security, APPSEC. Type that in and you'll see a whole new world, like that song, a whole new world where there is money everywhere. App security job. Let me see if I can. I want you to know I'm not lying to you. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So application security is I'm on Google right now. I just type APPSEC, app security jobs. If you didn't know, Google has a great job aggregator that searches by your location, and all of these jobs right here. This one's for AWS app security consultant. Here's a senior app security engineer. Just so you know, like somebody else asked me the same question, and they said that they knew app security, and I was like, what? And the organization I was looking for, the organization I was working for was looking for an app security guy. So a guy who was watching me on one of these right here, it was on YouTube, and he was like, hey man, like I'm looking for a job right now. Like he had just taken my course, and he was like, hey Bruce, like I'm looking for a job, and you have like, what, can you help me out or whatever? And I said, sure. I said, what do you do? Could you send me your resume? He sent me his resume, and it had application security on it. So that's an application security is somebody who looks at code, right? Like they look at not necessarily like C++ code or whatever. It might be a web application where somebody set up a website that's all it does is take people's information, they log in, and it sends them, it authorizes them, connects to a database, and it logs them in, right? Think of your bank or something, right? The front end of your bank is just a web page that sends you to a secure server, and then that secure server was going to authenticate you or whatever. So application security guy is looking at the process. Okay, how could we exploit this code that's on this application that this bank or whoever created? Is there some way to exploit this? Do they have the proper amount of cryptography on this system? Do they have, if they are using a backend database, when the site is connecting to this backend database, is there any way we can exploit this? And they're not just eyeballing it and saying, oh, okay, I see the code here. They use a tool. They'll use a tool, and the tool will actually run through a bunch of stuff. Now, they have to be able to interpret the stuff that the tool comes out with. Like the tool might say, cross domain, this cross sites, this site can be exploited by a cross site scripting attack, right? So a normal person like myself is not going to know what the hell that is. We're going to be like, what the hell? What is that? Or it might that tool might spit out something like this site can be exploited by a SQL injection attack, right? So, a normal cybersecurity guy might be like, well, I don't, how would you do that? But an application person might say, well, let me take a look at the code. So they'll know what they're looking at. They'll be able to say, okay, I see what they're trying to do with this website and how it's trying to use, it's connecting to this backend database, and we've got to fix this. And here's how they would be able to interpret the information that the tool gives them, and then figure out like what they need to do to fix it, is what I'm trying to tell you. So software engineers going to cybersecurity, you can definitely make money off of that for sure. What I would recommend that you do is get a Security Plus. Security Plus is go to CompTIA and type in Security Plus, the plus security and plus sign. So that certification is going to walk you through the basics of what you need to know for best security practices. Now, even though it's not a high level security certification, okay, but that thing is worth some money. I'm gonna tell you, especially in government, there's several different organizations that are looking for that certification. It's a hot certification. Security Plus, get the Security Plus as a start, right? That's one of the things you can get. Another thing you can get if you're in cloud, get a AWS certification. Those two right there, you get those two, you'll be able to transit, because you'll know the best security practices. You as a software engineer already know some security practices that you're supposed to do in code, one of which is documenting putting the comments in the code. That's one of the security best practices. Protecting the software repository is another one. Making sure that only certain people can get into the software repository, and not pollute or to corrupt the software repository. There's certain things that you know as a software engineer that's going to help you to transition into cybersecurity. But the Security Plus is going to round out your whole. It's going to start off your career as a cybersecurity person, and then once you get in there, you're going to make. I'm telling you, man, this dude that I talked to about this, like he's making bank now. I know because I worked there before, and so I know that they don't want to lose this dude. So yeah, he's getting paid. He got a very big pay bump off of that. And using the techniques that I'm teaching here, that I tell people here every week, he got many offers. Actually, he didn't even have to take. It's over 130, over 130. And I suppose for some people that's not that much money, but my man's already doing pretty well. I'm not gonna put his business out there in the street, so he didn't need a lot. He didn't need nothing, to be honest with you. But to each their own, I guess. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why he's working. I don't know why he's working. Anyway, okay, guys, I think that's it. I'm out of here. Thank you guys so much for your questions. I appreciate everything. If you guys are sending me emails and stuff, I apologize. I have so many emails that I'm getting every day. I just don't have time. The best time to catch me for questions is this right here, because I can answer multiple questions at once. I could take the time to just sit here and talk to people. I didn't even have time to go through all the current questions that I have. I mean, I'm trying to work on some way that I can do more with less time and everything. So it's not like before when I took like 4 months off where I didn't work because I have a side business and I had stacked up some cash, so I was able to just not work for 4 months. It was pretty dope, but I got to go back to work. So that's the now I can't really answer as many questions and stuff. All right, that's it, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your Martin Luther King Day weekend. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you guys for asking questions, and I will see you guys hopefully next week. A whole new world.